Welcome back. Children who escaped Boko Haram's Islamic insurgency are now dying of starvation in refugee camps in northeastern Nigeria's largest city. Government is investigating the theft of food aid by officials.
Refugees have staged near daily protests over the past week. In one, women blocked the main highway linking Maiduguri to the Borno state capital to Kano City for 5 hours, shouting that their children are starving and they have no drinking water as temperatures soar above 40 degrees. Doctors Without Borders say 10 and 25% of children in a 110-bed feeding center are dying. They further said this is a high percentage even in an emergency. Most of the dying are from refugee camps. Dozens of babies and children with matchstick limbs and protruding rib cages fill the tents of the feeding center. Doctors Without Borders' therapeutic feeding program in Maiduguri, where the most malnourished children are treated, has quadrupled in size in the last weeks. But each time it expands, it becomes rapidly full, says the manager. Nigeria's Senate last week announced it was launching an investigation into allegations that food aid is being diverted, and the Economics and Financial Crimes Commission said weeks ago that it was doing the same. The crisis in Maiduguri, where markets are filled with fresh vegetables and fruit, is in addition to what the UN has called a catastrophic humanitarian crisis in the northeastern areas of Nigeria. Recently liberated from Boko Haram, where 2.5 million malnourished people have no access to food and drinking water. These areas are still dangerous to reach.
Irish rock star Bono teams up with Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, to help over 2.6 million people displaced by the Boko Haram insurgency. The partnership between the two comes after aid agencies warned of a growing humanitarian crisis in northeast Nigeria. The joint venture is set to benefit millions of people in need.
In a bid to raise awareness for the plight of people living in internally displaced persons camps and flooded areas, Irish-born rock star Bono and Aliko Dangote and the federal government are forging a partnership to raise funds for the IDP in the northeast of Nigeria. Bono and Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, visited a camp of 2.3 million displaced people in Borno State. The two met with Nigeria's Vice President Yemi Osibanjo at the presidential villa to explore the possibilities of a global partnership to address the humanitarian crisis in the northeastern part of the country through international advocacy.
We know there's 50,000 kids going to die before the end of the year according to the UN, if they don't receive, I think they're looking for 300. We've only got $100 million in response so far. It turns out the 300 figure is too low. In fact, UNICEF will use up most of the 300. So already the resources are just only a fraction of what they need to be.
Previously, Dangote made several donations to refugee camps in Borno State, which is the hardest hit by the Boko Haram insurgency. In May, he announced a $10 million donation to the IDPs. He also sent more than 100 trucks of food items that were distributed to the camps during the Ramadan festivities. United Nations agencies and other NGOs have this year sought nearly $200 million to meet the immediate needs of more than 500,000 people forcibly displaced by Boko Haram in Cameroon, Chad and Niger, but currently have less than a quarter, 24% of the funding they need. Bureau Report, ANN7.
Zimbabwe plans to dehorn all rhinos in its national parks to discourage poaching after 50 animals were illegally killed last year. Rhino horn is prized in Asia for use in traditional medicine, and surging demand has led to more poaching.
A record 1,305 rhinos were killed illegally in Africa last year, most of them in South Africa, according to conservation groups. Lisa Moribini, Director of Operations with Aware Trust Zimbabwe, said the organization was one of two helping the Zimbabwe Parks and the Wildlife Management Authority remove 100 horns in state parks, which are targeted by poachers because they are less secure. Some 600 rhino are kept in private sanctuaries, which may choose to dehorn their animals or increase security, Moribini said. Buying and selling rhino horn internationally was banned in 1977. In Zimbabwe, killing a rhino carries a mandatory 9-year sentence. The World Wildlife Fund said in January 50 rhino had been killed in Zimbabwe in 2015, double the figure for the previous year.
The Ugandan government has issued 8 oil production licenses expected to result in $8 billion worth of investment. The Ugandan Minister of Energy made the announcement on Tuesday in the country's capital, Kampala.
Uganda's government has issued 8 oil production licenses to 2 foreign companies, a move destined to bring the country closer to becoming a producer of crude. 5 of the licenses were granted to Britain's Tullow Oil, but France's Total was given 3 after years of regulatory delays and tax disputes.
Today, my ministry has granted a total of 8 petroleum production licenses over the oil fields in Exploration Area 2 and Exploration Area 1, operated by the 2 companies, Tullow and Total, respectively.
Each license is set for 25 years and will be renewable for an additional 5 years. The 2 giant companies are expected to make a final investment decision within 18 months. They are set to spend over $8 billion on production infrastructure, including drilling about 500 wells and constructing holding facilities.
The companies are expected to invest over United States dollars 8 billion in the infrastructure required for oil production for all production licenses. This investment will be for the drilling of about 500 wells, construction of central processing facilities, and feeder pipelines, among others.
Between 200,000 and 230,000 barrels of crude will be produced daily by the 3 oil companies, with up to 60,000 barrels of that oil refined within the country, according to figures from Uganda's government. The rest will be exported through a pipeline leading to the Tanzanian port city of Tanga.
Uganda will receive royalties, annual fees, the state's share of profit oil, and corporate income tax. Revenues from these licenses are estimated to average about United States dollars 1.5 billion per year for the duration of production of these fields.
Uganda's government says the oil companies will carry out investment impact assessments and draw plans to resettle people displaced by the oil-related activities.
Nigeria has slipped into recession. The latest growth figures show the economy contracted 2.06% between April and June this year. The country has now seen 2 consecutive quarters of declining growth. This is the usual definition of recession. Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, NBS, says Nigeria's vital oil industry has been hit by weaker global prices, but the government says there has been strong growth in other sectors. Crude oil sales account for 70% of government income. The price of oil has fallen from highs of about $112 a barrel in 2014 to below $50 at the moment. And now worsening relations between Burundi and Rwanda mean the once bustling border town of Ankaraya is suffering, hitting the economies of both countries.
The once bustling border town of Akanyaru is suffering as relations between Burundi and Rwanda worsen. Trade has slowed dramatically since April 2015, when Burundi's President Pierre Nkurunziza decided to run for a controversial third term. This triggered a diplomatic crisis with accusations that Rwanda was backing Burundian rebels. Now, buses aren't allowed to cross the border for security reasons, affecting regular travelers.
Since the ban, the fare has gone up. Now to make a round trip, it costs 20,000 Rwandan francs, whereabouts before it only cost 12,000.
Many suspect that security concerns are also behind Burundi's decision to ban food exports to neighboring countries, although food shortages caused by drought is the official explanation. In theory, imports from Rwanda to Burundi are still permitted, but in reality, they've dropped by 40%.
Our business has been affected a lot by Burundi's decision. Our main customers come from Burundi and cross the border to buy our products.
With a ban in place, some traders have turned to the black market or smuggle in goods illegally.
Our business has been affected by Burundi's decision. Our main customers come from Burundi and across the borders to buy our products.
As trade grinds to a halt, prices are pushed up, with some commodities doubling in price. The Rwandan government is trying to fight back, describing Burundi's ban as illegal. But its complaints have so far failed to solve the problem, only adding to the anger between the two countries. Bureau reports, ANN7.
On a Friday morning in Cairo, Ahmed stops cars to allow some 3,000 joggers to cross a near-deserted road in the normally gridlocked metropolis. Streets that during the week are snarled with exhaust-spewing cars turn almost silent on weekend mornings, Fridays and Saturdays in Egypt, allowing joggers and cyclists to revel in the absence of traffic.
On a Friday morning in Cairo, thousands of joggers gather despite the summer heat, then set off on a 4-kilometer jog which will take them along the Nile on the wealthy island of Zamalek. A challenge in the gridlocked metropolis where pedestrians have to contend with traffic.
In any other country, roads are closed off during a marathon, but that's not the case here. So we come here on Fridays at 7 a.m. when the traffic is light. Traffic is what we worry about the most.
Egypt is beautiful, but it's much nicer in the morning. After that, there's traffic, especially around 4 p.m. It's dreadful.
Sport in Egypt used to be mainly practiced in clubs reserved for the elite. But now, joggers of all backgrounds are using social media to organize group outings across the capital. The Cairo Runners Group, founded in late 2012, attracts between 2,000 and 3,000 people every week. Cyclists also increasingly swarm the crowded Cairo streets, exposing themselves to all sorts of criticism.
We've been subjected to harassment and ridicule, men and women alike. People keep telling us this is not a place to ride bikes, that roads are filled to capacity. But despite how bad that made me feel, I ignored their comments, and now people tell us they wish they could ride bikes too.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has called on Egyptians to exchange their cars for bikes, even leading a bike tour himself. But the dangers of cycling, particularly the absence of bike lanes, are an obstacle to many.
It's somewhat difficult and dangerous. I've already been in 2 bicycle accidents. I was hit by 2 cars and fell off a bridge. There's been many incidents, but I won't give up biking.
More than 3 million vehicles are registered in Cairo and its twin province of Giza, making life difficult for its pedestrians and cyclists. But most of them soldier on, braving the city's dusty, traffic-choked cacophony.
Stargazers in South and Central Africa were treated to a spectacular solar eclipse on Thursday when the moon wandered into view to make the sun appear as a ring of fire.
The phenomenon known as an annular solar eclipse happens when there is a near-perfect alignment on the Earth, Moon and Sun. But unlike a total eclipse, when the Sun is blacked out, sometimes the Moon is too far from Earth and its apparent diameter too small for complete coverage. Daylight should be slightly dimmed as on a very cloudy day. Only people along a very narrow 100-kilometer band stretching across Central Africa, Madagascar and Reunion will see the full effect of the ring or annulus. Anyone north, south, east or west of the band will see only a partial eclipse or none at all.
Again, that's all the news making headlines around the African continent. From Milise Khomukonane and the team, Salani Gahle.